After apartheid or urbanization took place, naturally people that earns a bit less or are in a position of poverty and that requires enormous effort to try even to survive barely, start to come to the city in order for them to be able to kind of make some kind of living, small entrepreneurial. But as we know it also, there is a lot of people that are homeless in the city. And lifting of this apartheid barriers kind of allowed people to come together. So what we have with Warwick Triangle is that it is heavy in history when you think about the buildings that are there. It's historically the kind of Victorian architecture. So they should really be protected by the city as buildings, but also as a precinct that was very relevant during apartheid in terms of the fighting against the struggle.
Deixa o gás aceso para queimando quando começa a apagar.
But yeah, basically I was saying, so this homeless community lives there. And the problem is that, or it's seen as a problem because the council seems to focus all of its developments in the city, whereas anything behind, kind of immediate behind them, is not something that they would focus on developing. And that relates exactly to a community of homeless people that has been there for a long time. And there is this notion of a social responsibility that I think is what we're looking at, which is lacking within the council. And I mean, we all know that, or we should, that it is people in spaces that makes places. I think the social side of development is as important as the capital side. But having said that, there are approaches and behavior that, or practices from council themselves in terms of, for example, breaking down an illegal shack dweller that has come because of that urbanization process and setting their not only just a shack but their livelihood on this piece of land where it could be defined as a lost space, but it's a piece of land that is fenced and has a big padlock. So obviously myself, as this person that's come from a very impoverished area to the city in order to make some money, I will settle down on an empty piece of land because it's absurd anyway. It's like there is nothing being protected by something or something protected by nothing. So this whole, anyway, I mean, I think I'm just going off on a tangent, but what I was getting at is practices, you know, past practices of apartheid policies are still maintained in the sense that there was a house in that plot. Usually those houses around this area was habited by Indian people. And Grey Street itself, Warwick Triangle itself was a place that was not quite as a precinct fit into the apartheid it didn't fit into that period of time because there was people of different races living there. And when obviously when there's a loophole in a system or there's a place in the system that struggle against apartheid. So when the government heard about that, they came and raised down the houses, lock them up, and then relocate the people that were living there. So now we have the homeless people that comes and set up on that same very site. And what happens? Instead of looking at an opportunity that presents ourselves to deconstruct that cycle that started with apartheid, what we do instead as a council is we raise down those houses of these homeless people, their shacks. So in a sense, it's perpetuating that oppressive regime. But at the same time, the funny thing is that Durban and its council want to make themselves known in the world as a caring city. And again, in the same way that we sort of defined earlier that it is people in spaces that will make places, then you cannot be a caring city if you don't start by caring about the people on your streets. So, which leads us also to example like, and then is a specific example in Warwick Triangle of this house that the house owner was an old lady that lived there, and she was found murdered in that house. So the house stayed empty without anybody living in this house for a long time. So what happened is, first there's a group of drug dealers that just settled in, and they were kind of doing their business from there. And then eventually, I think there's so many homeless people on that pavement there that they kind of got hold of that building, and they were staying there. And miraculously, one day this building just burnt down in huge flames with the people inside, and they had to run away from it. This house now is being burnt down, and the inaction of the council from an architectural point of view, which we know in its function, it records history in time, that those houses are clearly saying that this probably was the boundary of the city once, because of its residential status, with a single story house. And also, on the other hand, it is something that is worthy very much of some kind of respect, either from the Architectural Institute recognizing them as listed building, or even from the government, maybe trying to come there and in collaboration or participating with the community there, kind of start to build like a cultural precinct that can just exist as, I mean, lots of tourists already go there through the city walk anyway. But yeah, so it is by not protecting those houses like this in a way through legislation, which is crucial, in a way we kind of enable those incidents to happen, and through that, people are getting damaged. People, I mean, kids are growing up there and see this kind of thing all the time. So we can, I mean, basically, if we can just touch lives in a small community by looking at what are potential development that can exist from them, with them, we can't ever change, also make spaces as individual.